Hello, and a very warm welcome to this, the very first edition of Full Volume, the Manchester Libraries podcast. My name is Alan. I will be your host/producer, and for the next half an hour or so, we hope to entertain you with what we have coming up on the show. So let's talk about what's happening. In a wee moment, we'll speak with Neil MacInnes. Now, Neil is Director of Libraries here in Manchester. Took time out of his busy day to come and have a chat with us about, well, what's it like being Neil MacInnes and about the future of libraries here in the city. After that, we'll hear from Gary telling us all about his new event here at the Central Library. It's called Ear Soup. And then we turn our attention to some of the fantastic staff that work here at the library. We'll be talking to Tracy and Lynn today. Collectively, I think they've got about 485 years I'm kidding, but about 94 years of experience here between the two of them. So they're going to tell us what it's like to work at a library and tell us about some of the events that they host here as well. Then we'll hear from Jacqueline Wilson, author extraordinaire, got a brand new book out called Think Again. She was here recently hosting an event, signing copies for marauding fans. And I'm not kidding, the fans were going crazy for her. We'll hear from the lady herself, and then Danny Middleton, one of our regular contributors here at the podcast, will be reviewing said book, so hang around for that. And then we'll wrap it up, myself and Gary do a roundup of what's happening here throughout January at Central Library. Okay, so buckle up, here we go with our first edition. This is Full Volume. Okay, as promised, let's hear from Neil MacInnes. Neil and myself sat down a couple of weeks ago to talk everything libraries, but I started by asking him how he felt about being the very first guest on our brand new podcast.
Absolutely delighted. What an honour to actually be on this podcast. So looking forward to it.
Well, thank you very much, like I said, for taking the time out of the day. I know you're a busy man. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to at the moment then. What's a day in the life of Neil MacInnes like?
So I've got responsibility for all the libraries, the art gallery and culture in the city. So a day in the life is ensuring that we continue to deliver an amazing programme of events, activities and high quality customer service across our entire estate.
And tell me, in terms of your career, where did you start and did you ever envisage this is where you would end up at this point in your life?
So I've been working in libraries for almost 40 years now. I started off as a volunteer at my local library as a child, and then when I left school at 16, got involved in the library service and worked my way through the ranks before finally coming to Manchester in 2005, and I've been the head of libraries here since 2010. I came here for an interview in 2005 and got offered the job at the interview, and then the rest is history. So no regrets whatsoever. From
a day to day then, what sort of stuff do you do in terms of, I know you're head of museums and art galleries and libraries, so I mean that, to me, I can't even say it without feeling tired. So how do you find the hours in the day to fit it all in?
I'm really, really fortunate in the sense that I've got an excellent group of senior managers, but also we've got an excellent group of staff across the board. And the way I always look at things is everybody in the service area is a leader, irrespective of what role they play. And we've got a great staff team who are completely passionate and believe in what they do. And that makes my job a lot easier. Yeah, I think I've always kind of worked on the basis in my entire career working in libraries and broader, that in libraries in particular though, it's a bit like a family. They really believe in what they're doing, they're willing to share, willing to learn, discuss and think how we can do things better. And we operate some great libraries in the city. Manchester Central Library is the busiest public library in the UK, which is something I'm extremely proud of. And it's held in extremely high regard within the sector and by our residents and by our politicians.
But that's not all you do, because there's 16 other branches. Are you taking care of all those as well? Are you overseeing all of them?
Yeah, every library in the city, every public library in the city.
Yeah.
So we have a range of libraries, big and small, throughout the city. We've had huge investment actually in our library network, not just Central Library, but our branch libraries as well. And they're a quality offer.
They really are. I went over last Thursday to Forum in Wythenshawe.
Yeah, what used to be Wythenshawe Central Library in the Forum, and we've recently invested, we've received investment from Arts Council England, I think it's roughly about £180,000 to create a new creative space, which also has a podcast studio.
Yes, it does.
As well. It
does, yeah.
So really, really exciting, but that's the thing I love the most about my job, is watching how our libraries continue to evolve, grow, and offer more services for our residents.
Libraries going forward, I understand it's a struggle to get younger people to engage. And is there a strategy for that going forward? Is there a plan to maybe try and... Because we were talking about that here, and we were saying with younger people in particular, social media plays a big part. And I'm not sure as a library that we were utilising that as much as we could do, because I haven't spoken to the team over there. They think really we need to get people at a sort of very young age and have them engaging on social media. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think probably some of the social media channels that we use aren't necessarily the social media channels that young people are using.
No, they're not, no.
So Facebook's kind of for old people like me, but maybe we need to look at things like TikTok more and, just start to be a bit more inventive. But I do think the children's team in the library service, there's a question, they're now doing a consultation about what young people want to see and what young people would like in our libraries. Many years ago we did a consultation with over 500 young people in Central Library, and what was interesting was the young people said the Central Library was their second favourite place in the city centre.
Wow. That's incredible.
And the favourite place was Primark. So there's some things you can compete with, some things you can't. But there you go.
Unless we start selling $1.99 t-shirts, I don't think we can compete on that level, can we? I think, yes, certainly for me, I've realised that we do live in a world where kids do find most of their interests staring down the barrel of the phone, but it's then getting them to put the phone down to go and explore that. So, yeah, I haven't spoken to the team at Withershaw. They said that's what they're hoping to do, is to sort of go in at the really ground level. Because they've got a wonderful soundstage, a fantastic lighting rig, and this amazing kit. And I said to myself, wow, I mean, I'd love to have some of that kit here. We don't have kit like that here, but I wish them the best over there, because the enthusiasm is there. And, I just really hope to see that place flourish.
I think if you get the programme right,
yeah,
and if you co-design or co-curate with young people for something that they actually want, as opposed to designing something that you think they want, then people will come to you.
Yeah.
And I do think hopefully things like the podcast and actually will help generate new footfall, new audiences, and bring people through the doors that might not normally have come in.
Can I just say also, we've just invested in 8 new Mac computers. So I haven't spoken to a few of the team. We were saying stuff like the early stages learning of music production, for instance, I think is a wonderful way to engage people, because they do this themselves at home, but the software is incredibly expensive. I think the suite we have in there, one of them alone is about £1,000, and you've got to keep paying each year to get new add-ons and whatnot. So if we can let people know that we're providing services like that, I think that's maybe where we can get more young people to come and spend some time at the library.
No, definitely, and I think it's how you get the message out there, and also use the young people to be the ambassadors, so they can share the message. Yeah,
I think that's how we go through social media, because if we get them in, I think a lot of the times we find services we do, and when we put events on, like I run a quiz here sort of once a month, and we have this vinyl club, those things were, again, we utilise Facebook because it's an older age group, but we don't tend to do that with the apps that are specifically geared at, say, 11 to 15, and they're the kids that we want to come in, because I'd love to see loads of kids in here. I mean, we're in this salubrious new booth here in the generator. I'd love to see kids in here every day sort of having a go at producing a podcast, or maybe just talking and recording themselves, just learning that actually maybe this is something I can do with my life.
No, absolutely. And I think there's an opportunity, particularly with that younger audience, is working more closely with the youth service and some of the youth providers in the city, how they can get the message out as well.
So for Futures of Library then, just before I let you go, I know you're a busy man, Neil, for Futures of Library, Manchester Library, are we on steady ground?
Yeah, I think we are. We're well respected. We're held in high regard. Our politicians really understand what we're doing and how we demonstrate to the wider priorities of the city. And I always say that libraries aren't necessarily the only solution, but they're part of the solution.
Now, it's 2025. So we're into a brand new year. Can I ask you, have you made any New Year resolutions, and do you think you'll stick to them?
No, that's a difficult one. New Year resolutions, actually, I'm wanting to become a bit more healthy.
Okay.
A bit more exercise.
All of us, yeah.
And that's the one that's probably going to be the hardest challenge, but that's what I'm aiming for.
Right, moving on. I'm here with Gary, who is the mastermind behind one of the very popular events here at the Central Library. Been going for almost a year now, which is great. And it happens once a month, and it's called Ear Soup, and Gary's here to tell us all about it. Gary, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. Hi, Alan.
Before we go on and let you tell us a bit about Ear Soup, first, because this is our first podcast, we sort of wanted to introduce everybody because you're going to be a regular contributor in various different forms. And tell us a bit about yourself first. So how have you ended up working here at Manchester's lovely Central Library?
I got made redundant from my last job, and I have a friend who worked in the library service in the South Manchester Libraries, and he's retired now, but he said it was the best job he'd ever had. And I saw this job advertised, and I thought, well, I would like a bit of that. So I applied for it, and weirdly, the job application advert said it was going to be an open day. So I came along expecting an open day. It said, come along and find out more. And I was led into a room to a panel interview, completely unexpectedly. Really? Yeah. So, because I'm notoriously terrible at interviews, because I get really nervous.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance to be nervous. So I walked into this interview, apparently did really well, and they offered me the job the following morning.
I mean, trades description, you could have a case there, I reckon, you know, coming in for an open day, expecting a big group of people to be ambushed. That's a great story.
I have to say it's the best job I've ever had.
Well, you know what? I think so too. Well, we're glad that you came in that fateful day because you're here now. Okay, so Ear Soup, tell us a little bit more about it. What was it born from?
Yeah, I used to host, for years really, I've hosted various kind of music events. I did one for 5 years at Fuel in Withington, which was live readings and music, poets and comics and all sorts of weird stuff. I did that for 5 years, and it was really great, but I started to get kind of stage fright, and I stopped doing it. But when I started at the library, I worked in the music library to begin with, and I saw it's such a beautiful venue, and there wasn't much going on.
Yeah.
So I thought this would be a great place to hold a music event. I spoke to the managers, and we settled on, there were no evenings available, which I would have preferred, but we settled on Saturday afternoon till 2 till 3, which works out really brilliantly because we get so many people who are just spending their Saturdays in town, and they're looking around the library because it's such a great place to
have a mooch around in.
And they see some like beautiful acoustic music going on, and they just sit down, and we get a really good audience of like 25, 30 people every time. So the only rule is that it's acoustic. It's an hour of acoustic music. We have 3 performers each time doing 20 minutes. They can do their own songs. They can do folk songs, anything they want. They can do anything, really. Yeah. I mean, the more diverse, the better for me, so that it's not, I don't like it when it's always middle-aged men with guitars. But, you know,
covering Bob Dylan songs.
That's good as well. Well, not the Bob Dylan. I hate Bob Dylan.
As an example. Nothing against Bob Dylan personally.
But it's such a beautiful thing to do. And I can't believe that they're paying me to do this.
Yeah.
It seems to have attracted a real following. We've got a Facebook page, a Facebook group that's got 120 odd followers now.
For something so niche and in the corner on a Saturday afternoon tucked away at 3 o'clock, you don't necessarily think, are people going to come? But they are coming, and they're coming back again. You get the same people coming back again all the time. So how about a clarion call for some acts then? Do you want to, if anyone's out there who has a guitar or has an accordion or a stylophone, it don't matter what your instrument is.
God, I would love an accordion.
Come in.
I would love an accordion player. Anything that's a little out of the ordinary for me would be fantastic.
Shout out to anybody, like we said, doesn't matter what you play. Even if it's a didgeridoo, right? Just anything goes.
Oh, I'd love that.
Okay? Anything goes. And Gary, do you want to give them your email so they can get in touch with you?
Yep, it's Gary with one R, gary.parkinson@manchester.gov.uk.
Super. Well, thank you, Gary, very much for coming in. Lovely to hear from you. We will, of course, be hearing lots more from Gary as well. Gary's one of the contributors here on the podcast. So thanks very much, Gary.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to presume if you're listening to this, then you have an interest in libraries. Or possibly you work at a library. But let me stress there's a big difference between having an interest in being a library borrower or a library user than it is being a library staff member. Let me tell you, I don't need to say that to anyone who's ever worked at a library. But I can say hands down that fateful day in 2022 when I came for the interview here. I'm 2.5 years here now. I honestly thank my lucky stars every day that I decided to come for the interview, because I just love working here. But primarily what I love are the people that I work with. So I want to focus on that over the next few episodes of the podcast, because we have such amazing people here, all walks of life, people from 18 up to 80. And everybody has a story, and some of them have been here for years. Some of them are brand new to the game. But I want to highlight some of those people because I love them, and I hopefully you'll fall in love with them too. And I want to start with Lynn and Tracy. Now, Lynn and Tracy are two of my faves. I asked the two of them to pop down and tell us a little bit about themselves and their career here at the library, a few anecdotes, and also to tell us more about Story Time, which is one of the events that we hold here at the library, which has just taken off and is almost now out of control. There's story times for lots of different languages around the world. The English one happens on Tuesday mornings. I'm not going to tell you anymore. I'll let the ladies tell you. Let's hear from Tracy and from Lynn.
My name's Tracy Rostron. I'm part of the library team working here. I came to the library when I was about 17, initially just for 6 months, and 41 years later, I'm still here.
41 years. Pikey.
Yep, 41 years. Gone in a flash.
And tell us, what do you do day to day? What is your role here at the library?
Well, my official role is neighbourhood delivery officer, so do all sorts really, general supervision, based in the business library. That's my core department, where we manage the business side of things, do timesheets. But a huge part of my job is doing a lot of work with the children's team. Yeah, mainly story time.
You do a fantastic job. And I think you can top Tracy, Lynn, in how many years you've been working for the council. Tell us.
45.
And have you always been here in Manchester?
Yeah, always in Central. Done a bit of covering the districts when they were short, which was great. Very different, but I did enjoy it, but mainly here, yeah. So
you two must have seen an incredible amount of change then, because we're in this magnificent building. I love coming to work here, you know that. But you've seen it. I mean, obviously when you started, was it a very different animal back then?
Oh, completely different. Totally different. I cannot describe how different it was. It was very much... I don't know, very typical library back then. It was all about books and studying, and we had librarians and they had library assistants, which Lynn and I were at the time when we came. So yeah, very, very different environment to what it is now.
Same for you, Lynn, too. So you'd have seen it when it was a theatre downstairs, and when it was a much smaller building, and you know, we weren't connected to THX or anything like that.
No, not at all. When I came, I started in what is now the stock team, which was based on the third floor, filled the full entirety of the third floor, and I started as a cataloguer. So I started cataloguing all the books, and then we had the first of our restructures, of which there have been many over the years, and then I moved to social sciences, which is where the Great Hall is. So I've done quite a variety of departments in here.
So jack of all trades indeed, both of you.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, well, we're definitely master of story time, I'll give you that.
And that is why, that's what we're here to talk about then. It's something that we do here at the library. When I first started working here, 2.5 years ago now, I remember the first time I heard it, I thought, what is that racket? But in in fairness, no, I'm only joking. In fairness, it's wonderful for the kids. So many parents with their kids turn up, and that's a real sign that something is popular.
Oh, the numbers grow every session that we do. We get different people, and we've had up to 35, 40 children plus parents.
Tell us a little bit about what exactly, for someone who doesn't know then, what exactly is it, when is it on, and how can someone get in touch if they want to come and join in?
Yeah, well, the sessions in Central Library are every Tuesday and Thursday mornings. There's a session at 10:30 and it's repeated again at 11 o'clock, 11:30. So we do 4 sessions a week. Parents don't have to book to come along. They can just turn up with the little ones. It's very, very friendly. It's very, very welcoming. They can contact us by email if they want to find out a little bit more about it. But if not, it's on the library website, all the times and details. Term time only. It's very, very informal, and it's just fantastic.
And there's a bit of singing goes on as well, isn't there?
Yes, we do an introduction, then we do 2 stories. One is a read story, the second one's usually a singing one. Most of the children know the stories by now, don't they? So the parents join in, Then we do some songs, lots of actions, and then we have a quiet song at the end. It's not really quiet, but we like to have it.
Definitely not quiet.
No.
And there's no requirement to actually have much of a singing voice either, from what I've heard. You can
Absolutely
just
not.
come in and wail your head off.
What are you saying, Alan?
Well, as long as you can shout loud
Yeah.
to get over some of the noise of some of the children in the sessions, then I think you're okay. But can I mention about what we did in lockdown?
Of course
Because
you
I think
can. Please
that's
do.
quite
Yeah,
important,
please do.
don't you,
Absolutely,
Tracy?
yeah.
We did do sessions in lockdown, and we did them in the performance space, and we limited it to 10 originally, and then it grew a little bit as lockdown slackened. And it was just amazing because all the mums used to say, this is a place to go. Obviously, the library was open after the first session of
The
lockdown.
first wave, wasn't it? We
Yeah.
opened
Yeah.
in July or August, is that right? Yeah, if I
I'm not
remember
sure
correctly.
which month, but we did open, and it was one of the first buildings to open in the city centre, and we did do a story time, and it was just amazing. We did wear masks, but we wore clear masks,
Yeah.
so we didn't frighten the children that much.
I think it's one of those things, that's when you realise how important libraries are.
Oh, gosh.
Absolutely.
I mean, we know they're important on a day-to-day basis. I've just been speaking with a couple who
Yeah.
use the services every day. But you realise at a moment like that, God, it's a lifeline for people to be able to
Well,
just get
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely, yeah. And the
Yeah.
sessions are they're just magical, aren't they?
Yeah.
Kids just absolutely adore them. And it's the way the parents make friends as well that we're in there. You'll get
Yeah.
somebody coming along for the first time, maybe English isn't the first language,
Yeah.
and they leave with somebody's number, then they all go
Yeah.
off to the art gallery for
Yeah.
sort of coffee and cake,
Yeah.
don't they?
And
It's-
the cafe, sorry Tracy,
Yeah,
downstairs.
absolutely. It's a
but
real
we've seen
social side.
babies born, and then we've seen them right the way through to going to school.
Becoming little girls then.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
little boys.
Yeah.
yeah.
You also touched on international people coming in, because we are going to host some more international flavoured, shall we say, story times. I know we've got a Ukrainian one coming up, and there's an Italian story time too, is that right?
This is Italian,
Yeah,
Spanish.
there's Italian story time. That's every month. There's a Spanish story
Yeah,
time. There's
French.
French, Mandarin Chinese, and an Urdu one as well. So there's something for everybody. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and they are very well attended, aren't
Absolutely,
they?
yeah.
Well, listen, I know you two are crazy busy, so I'm going to let you get on. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk
pleasure,
to us.
Alan. Pleasure.
Anytime.
Earlier in the year, I had the pleasure of meeting Jacqueline Wilson. Now, if you're a lady of a certain age, you will certainly at some point have encountered the Tracy Beaker books. They were a phenomenon all over the world. She sold a truckload of books. And she was lovely, I have to say. I didn't get very long with her, just managed to get a quick chat before she went on stage to a baying crowd, if you will. Well, not exactly, but a lot of very eager women and men came and packed out the performance space here at the Central Library. It was fully sold out. I think we probably could have sold twice as many tickets, because people were just coming in throngs and throngs and throngs, all really keen to hear about Jacqueline's brand new book, because we know she stepped away from writing for a while, but she's come back now, and she's writing a book from the perspective of the girls that she wrote about when they were teenagers, 14, 15, and what their lives are like now that they're all heading for 40, which I think a lot of us, when we're 15, think 40, that's a long, long way away, but it does get to you in the end. It creeps up on you. And she said she was keen to find out where these women would be in their lives now that they're all grown up. And she wrote a book about it. It's called Think Again. And I had a quick word with Jacqueline and asked her to tell us a little bit about the book. So here's what she had to say.
I wrote a quartet of books about teenage girls long, long ago, and lots of people have written to me since or told me when I've done a signing that these were their favourite books, and they were particularly identified with Ellie because she's sort of an every girl. You know, she doesn't look stunningly beautiful, she's an incredibly talented, she's just somebody we can all identify with. And I started to think, I wonder what's happened to these girls. And I worked out that in real time, they'd be pushing 40. And I thought, yep, that is going to be a book I really want to write, and people seem very enthusiastic about the idea, and I've just been blown away with the response, because it's just, you know, the way you love to catch up with gossip about somebody says, hey, do you remember such and such at school? Well, guess what they're doing now? I wanted to have this sort of feel about the book, and I'm just thrilled. I don't think I'm going to give up writing children's books. I love doing that, but this has been like a very special holiday for me, writing for adults.
And turning 40 for everybody, it's a bit of a milestone, isn't it? I know I didn't handle it very well. I think some people do. Some people have said to me, oh, I found 40 great. I personally found 50 much easier. So what kind of trials and tribulations have the girls finding themselves at this stage in their life?
Well, Ellie really feels fed up, because on her 40th birthday, she's missing her daughter terribly, who's gone to university. Ellie had her very young and has very stubbornly refused help from her family, brought her up, done really well for her. But the thing that Ellie really likes most in her life has been that she has a cartoon strip published in The Guardian, and that gives her a bit of status, and she enjoys that. And wouldn't you know it, on her 40th birthday, she finds out they're dumping her. They say she doesn't chime with their readership anymore, and she really feels fed up. She's not in a relationship at the moment, and she kind of feels that life is over. But you see, I am the author, and life is just beginning with Ellie and her friends. Nadine is still very much a party girl, but can get herself in some pretty scary situations. And Magda, who always was boy mad, has actually been married twice, but now third time lucky, she hopes, and she very, very much wants to settle down and have a child. So if anybody feels like reading through the book, I think you might find some surprises, particularly for Ellie.
Well, I think people are really looking forward to reading the book. I see there's a crowd ready to go tonight. I know you're on stage at 7 o'clock, so I'll let you go. But thank you very much for talking to us, and the best of luck with the book. I really hope it does well for you.
Thanks so much. It's been great being here. Great to talk to you. And they look like a great audience.
Okay, as promised earlier, we're going to talk to Danny Middleton. Lots of staff have been coming in and contributing to the podcast. Danny has agreed to do the same. We're going to talk, obviously, about Jacqueline Wilson's book, Think Again. But before that, Danny, tell us a bit about yourself. How have you ended up here at Manchester City Council?
Hello, I'm the Events and Reader Development Officer for Manchester Libraries, which is the best job in the world, but it just means it's really jam-packed and fun. But yeah, it's really exciting to be part of this third podcast.
You're busy, because I can never get hold of you.
I'm really sorry.
I can never get hold of you, but I know you're a busy man, so thanks for taking the time out of your day. I know you're a busy man. So for today then, you had the pleasure of reading, and you're going to review the new book by Jacqueline Wilson. It's called Think Again. Like we mentioned earlier, she came here to promote the book earlier on this year. Yep. She is absolutely lovely. She took the time out of her busy evening to come and talk to us, which was lovely. But we wanted an independent voice to review the book and tell us what it's like. So Danny, what did you think of Think Again?
Well, I'm a massive Jacqueline Wilson fan. I used to be a children's librarian, and so in that period, you had to read a lot of books before you bought them. That was the good old days when you read stuff before you had time to read stuff before you bought it. But Jacqueline Wilson books were no chore at all. They were always huge and brilliant.
Yeah. Even I know who she is, and I was 20 odd when those books came out, but she was just so omnipresent. It was Tracy Beaker. Right. Yeah, everybody. You cheeky sod. Well, let me think. I might have been in my 30s actually, if I'm honest. They came out in the 2000s, didn't they?
I'm saying nothing.
Sometimes I sort of can't count backwards. But I do remember. I remember being very omnipresent. She seemed to be, everyone knew her as the children's author.
I mean, when you think of, like, Tracy Beaker, obviously, but there's some classics like Illustrated Mum and The Bed and Breakfast Star and Midnight, etc., which are all gorgeous. She also, and younger, mainly girls, but some boys read them as well. Then she progressed to more teenage stuff, which is the Girls in Love series, which there were 3 books in that series, which featured Ellie and her 2 best mates. Brilliant, loved them as well. This rather exciting book that's just come out by Jacqueline Wilson It's called Think Again, and it's basically looking at Ellie 30 years on, and she's now in her 40s, single mum with a 19-year-old daughter. I really, really enjoyed the book. I was slightly disappointed that her two best mates, Magda and Nadine, who are so huge in the Three Girls in Love series, are slightly more minor characters. I wanted to find out more about their lives as well. This is very much focused on Ellie and her love life and situations with her daughter and partners.
What life is like for 40-something,
absolutely,
basically.
Yeah. And it's brilliant. It's typical Jacqueline Wilson. It's warm-hearted. It's funny. Ellie was always slightly irritating, a little bit indecisive in the Girls in Love series, and is still the same. She's lovable, a little bit scatty, and gets very affected by some things. Yeah, which I don't as much. But so I found her a tiny little bit. Oh, pull yourself together. But that's me. That's just the character.
Isn't that a good book in a way, though? Because you kind of want to, at least they're moving you in some way, rather than you just being passive and going, I don't care about this character.
Yeah, you absolutely care for her. You want her to do the best thing and achieve success in her love life and as parenting and in a career. So it's really warm, really funny, and I agree. I care about her, which is why I found her frustrating slightly. I wasn't indifferent. I cared about her.
I'd rather that. Does it feel a bit like maybe perhaps a high school reunion? In a way, I was got invited to one. I remember when I was 30, I think, and I got this. It's an email at the time, I imagine, and everyone was like, "Let's get together and go." We were all 17 when we did our final exams. So let's have a reunion. Honestly, the fear of God set into me. I thought, not in a million years am I going back. Is this book a bit, did it feel like that for you? Did you feel like you're having a peek into people's lives?
Yes, very, very much so. I think, well, I hope what she's going to do is, I think this is done so well, she's going to have more in the series of adult books dealing with the Girls in Love characters, and I hope in the future ones we find out more about Nadine and her other best mate as well. Yeah.
Do you think that's what she's doing, leaving a bit of scope? Maybe possibly the next book will focus on another character?
I think Ellie's always been the main character. And I think Ellie will still be the main character in the ones, but I think hopefully she'll weave more backstory and stories of now about what her best mates are doing as well. Yeah. And it's really, another good thing, I'm talking as a big Jacqueline Wilson fan. This is also a really good book, even if you haven't read anything about Jacqueline Wilson.
That's what I was going to ask. Can it be a standalone read?
It's absolutely standalone. Yes, there's some characters from previous books of the Girls in Love series, but you don't need, if she does need to give you any detail about the characters, it's in this book. You don't need to have read the books beforehand to be able to enjoy this book.
So, marks out of 10?
I'd give it a very strong 8 out of 10, which is
good.
Yeah, I think the only gripe really is me caring for the character too much and wanting her to do the best thing when sometimes she doesn't, and you get irritated with it. But that's probably just really good writing.
Well, maybe it's just your soul, Danny. You just care.
Exactly, I'm just caring.
You just care. You're just caring, Danny. Yeah. Oh, well, listen, thank you very much for coming over, Danny. We are obviously, this is our first edition of the podcast, and this isn't the last we're going to hear from you because, like I said, you've got an important role here at the library. You're the go-to guy, for me anyway. So we're definitely going to hear some more from you over the next 2 editions, hopefully, Danny. But listen, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, well, that just about wraps up this very first edition of Full Volume. I really hope you enjoyed it. Gary's back.
Hello.
So, Full Volume. Yeah, that's what we're calling it.
Apparently so.
We are. That's what we're calling it. It was a contentious couple of months there trying to decide on the name of the podcast, but Full Volume.
It's like naming your baby, isn't it?
It is a little
and then
bit,
someone else comes and names it for you.
And then someone steals your baby name and you're fuming. But we are Full Volume, and like I said, thank you very much for tuning in to this very first edition. Before we go, though, let's wrap it up with a little roundup of what we can expect over the next month here at the library. Always something happening at Central Library. So, Gary, you kick it off for us.
Okay, yeah, so first off, from the 13th of January, we've got French Film Club, and this time, we're looking at a film called Making Of. So join us, and this is a bit of French, so I'm going to risk a pronunciation and embarrassing myself. Join us and Alliance Française de Manchester for this month's film, Making Of. So this is a quick précis of the plot. Simon, or I suppose that's Simon, a seasoned director, begins shooting a film about workers' struggle to save their factory. But between his producers' scheming, egocentric actors and edgy technicians, he's quickly overwhelmed by events. Abandoned by his financiers, Simon has to face a social conflict with his own crew. His only ally in this hellish shoot is the young extra to whom he has entrusted the making of the film. So that sounds quite interesting to me.
It does, but everyone should know you never trust the extras.
Exactly.
Never.
Yeah,
They're not paid enough.
So it's in French with English subtitles, Certificate U. And all cultural events are open and accessible to everyone. They're public events, and under 18s remain the responsibility of their parent guardian at all times. We have to say that.
And I think you need to book that one through Eventbrite.
Yeah, it is free, but booking via the Alliance Française website or and click on Book Now.
Super. Okay, and Barry Leach, currently running an exhibition here at Central Library. It's called Our Town Hall, Portraits of a Workforce. It's running till the 2nd of June. This was so popular over Christmas. You were here. I don't think you were here last week, were you, when we came back after the break? Honestly, the place was packed and loads of people were saying how great the photographs are. It's basically a project where Barry, the official council photographer, has taken loads of pictures of the ongoing work at the town hall. There's literally hundreds of people in there milling away, and they've been there for 6 years. They're going to be there for another 4. And he's taken some fantastic photographs of the progress and what we can expect from the town hall when it finally reopens, God knows when. But in the meantime, if you can't wait, you can whet your appetite by coming in and having a look at those pictures. Like I said, running on till, remind myself again?
It's June.
2nd of June, yes. Okay, and the next one.
Okay, so we've got also at the library now from the 28th of October last year until the 31st of January this year, so you've not got much time to come and see this. It's Manchester Theatre's exhibition. So there's a great tradition of theatre in Manchester, and this exhibition showcases items from our unique archive, including playbills, programmes, posters and other memorabilia dating back as far as the 18th century to the present day, and documenting the vibrant history of theatre in Manchester. And of course, Central Library itself was home to the Library Theatre.
Home to Home.
Yeah, which is now based in Home. Saw a lot of good stuff here.
There's some lovely stuff down there. I had a look. There's some ticket stubs from all the shows. The really interesting bit was looking at the price, because I think you were around when they still had shillings. Am I right?
In the 18th century, yes, I was, yeah.
Some of the prices, we were comparing notes yesterday. In today's money, it would be like £4 to go and see a show.
Yeah.
I mean, have you gone to the theatre in the last few years and paid £4 for a ticket?
Well, amateur theatre, yes.
Not so much if you head down the road to the Palace or anywhere.
No.
But if you have any kind of interest at all in theatres, it's wonderful. Really nice. Great little look back.
Very nice, yeah.
And then finally, it's also Hispanic Film Club. We're bringing this. It's on the 29th of this month. Hispanic Film Club. I'm going to have a go at this. I'm probably going to regret it. Todo Sombre Mi Madre. Am I right? You've got no idea. That translates to All About My Mother. Basically, it's the first monthly Hispanic film club, and it's in collaboration with Instituto Cervantes. This is getting really difficult. Celebrating Hispanic cinema with a diverse lineup of films that explore resilience, identity, and humanity. And highlights include this month's film, All About My Mother, Yuli, Wild Tales, and more. So suitable for ages of 15 only, and again 15 and above, and again you need to book via Eventbrite.
Very good.
Okay, that wraps up January. Right, time to go then. Thank you very much for tuning in. Just before we head off, we were chatting earlier about 2025, brand new year.
Yeah.
So what about New Year's resolutions, Gary?
I tend not to make them, but somebody asked me the other day if I had any, and I thought, yes, actually. So I'm in a band. We've been together for a year, and there's 3 of us, 2 members have both broken bones within that year.
Yeah.
So we've only managed to do 1 gig so far. So my New Year's resolution is one,
Maybe they're trying to tell you something, Gary.
is 1, not to break any bones, and 2, to do some gigs.
Yeah.
So that's good. And we're called Fracture Clinic because we
I love
spent
the
so
name.
much time in that.
Okay, yeah. The connection. Fracture Clinic. And Have you any upcoming gigs then? Can people go and see Fracture Clinic anywhere?
Not at the moment. I mean, you can come to the Chorlton Folk Club on the off chance that we might be there.
Yeah.
Which is on a Thursday night from 9 o'clock.
Well, listen, well done. I hope your band does really well in 2025. I'm still determined to get Gary and the guys to do a gig here in the library. I'll make it happen before the end of the year. I sadly didn't really make any New Year's resolutions, apart from the fact that I did swear off sausage rolls. Because I don't know whether you work in the city centre, but there's a Greg's opened, 2 years ago now maybe? Just right opposite the library. On the corner.
Around, don't they, Greg's? There's one everywhere.
Well, there is one everywhere, but it's just so close to the library. The proximity is terrifying. And I was like, right, 2025, you cannot be sneaking over there at 10:30 for a morning sausage roll. And what happened this morning?
Tell me.
I felt like the sausage rolls were calling me almost. So I just felt like I have to go in and get one. So I've broken my New Year's promises. So, like I said, maybe next year. Yeah, we'll see how we go. Yeah. Well, listen, thank you very much. We'll be back next month. We'll have a feature on Barry Leach and our town hall. Barry dropped in to speak to us. We'll have that conversation for you next month with the usual roundup of everything that's happening all across Manchester's libraries. Gary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month, and ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.